Hey all, EC here, and today we're going to be talking about the PSP and whether or not it's worth playing these systems in 2025. Now, first thing we're going to go over is obviously the fact there are multiple versions of the PSP systems. There are at least 5 versions that I'm aware of: the 1000 model, the 2000 model, 3000 model, and the PSP Street and PSP Go systems. Now, we'll go over PSP Go straight away. PSP Go, digital only PSP. If you didn't already have games loaded on it, it is good for modding. But unless you know how to mod it, then it's not worth you picking that one up, because obviously you can't really use any physical media on the PSP Go. So realistically, with that, you need to know what you're doing to mod it. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend buying that one. Now, the other PSP models, the PSP 1000, 2000, 3000 Street models, I think there's some, way you can argue some of these are worth picking up today. Let's start with the other side. The first party lineup of games was commendable. It had so many great games. It obviously Jack and Daxter had new games exclusive for the PSP. They also had one that was later ported to PS2. But they had games like Daxter. They had games like Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories, Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories. They had games like GTA Chinatown Wars, which was originally a DS game but also ported to PSP. You also got, games like God of War Chains of Sparta. I think it's called Chains of Sparta. I think it's called Chains of Sparta or Ghosts of Olympus, something like that. You've got obviously, it's just a huge lineup of big games that came to this system. You also had the Loco Roco series, which is Loco Roco 1 and 2. Fun little puzzle games that really utilised, what the PSP was. And the power of the PS2 is actually quite impressive as well, because I think it's just slightly less powerful than the PS2, which meant that it could play games that were basically PS2 quality games on the go. That was a big deal at the time, especially for like 2004, when the PSP's main competitor was the Nintendo DS, which was obviously a lot less powerful than that. And the DS was also more aimed towards casuals, whilst the PSP was more so aimed to the general gamer who wanted to play some big titles on the go. I will say this system is less portable than the PSP, and I do recommend if you buy one to buy a case for it. You can probably get some nice aftermarket cases. But the biggest difference between the PSP and the DS was the disk drive. This system uses a optical disk drive. It's got mini discs, UMDs, as what they're known as. The storage for these, I believe, is something like 1.8 gigabytes, which is not too bad for 2000 standard of storage. That wouldn't fly nowadays. No game is that small nowadays. But the collection of little mini discs is kind of fun as well, because it's another form of physical media. They did also put like movies and music on these little UMDs as well, which was quite cool to see. So there is actually a market for like secondhand films and stuff on the PSP as well. So if you want to watch some films on the go, and there's some weird films on there, to be honest. But if you want a little system that can play classic films that are on like UMDs and play some great games, then the PSP is worth it. You also need to factor in the fact that the PSP has a bunch of different colours and different special edition models. There's red PSPs, there's white PSPs, blue PSPs. The PSP is obviously the standard PSP colour is black. Obviously, most PSPs were black, but obviously as later revisions went on, they did obviously different colour schemes and different promotions. I believe there was like a Darth Vader PSP as well at one point, which is kind of funny to see, really. I know there's a Kratos one, and I believe that's the red one, and it's Kratos from God of War. And realistically, the PSP was great because it felt like playing console quality games on the go at the time. You had your PS2 level games on your portable system. Obviously nowadays the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 and Steam Deck and stuff like that, obviously that's less of an argument, because obviously many people can just play those like big budget AAA games on the go anyway, because those systems are designed to play those games on the go. But I do think that not Nintendo, but I do think PlayStation did something really well with this. Sony come out swinging with their system, and it shows. It shows that it's a great system. It has some great games. Has obviously functionality outside of just being a game console. Obviously, you can do your you can, like I say, you can collect some classic films like Spider-Man 2, Simpsons movies, stuff like that for this system. You can also obviously mod in the PSP. From what I understand, it's quite easy. I've got a modded PSP. I've got 2 PSPs actually. One of them is modded, and it just feels good in the hands. Obviously, it's not too small, which is good. Obviously, it's got nice clicky buttons, faceplate. One criticism I do have is that it's missing another analog stick. It only has one analog stick, which is just here. But a lot of the games took advantage of that quite well, and took advantage of the limitations of the hardware. Although I do kind of feel like if they had an extra analog stick like the PS Vita did, it would be the ultimate PlayStation portable system. Now, let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you think the PSP is worth playing in 2025? Because personally, I think it is. You know, it has some great standout games. And if PlayStation re-released a lot of those classic games, I think, you know, it would still be worth picking up just because obviously, just for the novelty of having a portable PlayStation on the go. But let me know what you guys think. If you're new, make sure you drop a follow, you like, you comment, all that sort of stuff. I've been EC and I'm signing out.